Have a brother Pete touch them, we can say these are.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome to our Board of Education meeting this evening. I'm going to start off with some administrative items, and then we're going to get right to my favorite part of the meeting, which is recognizing some of our outstanding students and educators this month. So let me just start with noting the New Jersey Open Public Meeting Law. To the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend meetings of bodies at which time business affecting their interest is discussed and acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this Act, the Board of Education Policy 0162, the Board of Education of the Borough of Bound Brook has caused notice of this meeting to be posted in the board office and at Bound Brook High School and mailed or faxed to the Courier News, Bound Brook Borough Clerk, South Bound Brook Board of Education, and any person who has requested individual notice and paid the required fee. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Gorski, can we do a roll call, please? Yes, sir. Mr. Bell.
Here.
Mr. Dawson.
Here.
Ms. Casino.
Here.
Ms. Lima. Mr. Zupko.
Here.
Ms. Musin.
Here.
Mr. Minhas. Ms. Hyde. And Mr. Januzzi.
Here.
Board President, you have a quorum present this evening. Thank you, sir. And moving right along, why don't we talk about the students of the month?
Okay. Next up we have our students of the month. We want to welcome everybody and thank everybody for coming. At this time, we will call Dr. Ressa to announce our students of the month for Lamont and Lamont Annex.
Good evening. Congratulations to Valentina Madrilla Lopez. Valentina is in preschool. Her teacher is Mrs. Heindow. Her favorite school subject is she loves to pretend play and playing in the kitchen in the Dramatic Play Center. Valentina loves to play at home with her dolls and spending time with her brother. She wants to become bigger and she wants to become a doctor. Valentina has been chosen as Student of the Month for all the wonderful growth she has accomplished this year. She's always tries her best as an amazing and kind friend to her classmates. Congratulations, Valentina.
Oh, right now. I knew she knew the role. I like it. Wait. There you go.
Congratulations, Valentina, again. Congratulations to the Annex Student of the Month, Victoria Flores. Victoria's in kindergarten class in Mrs. Fonseca's class. Victoria's favorite subject is singing and music and math. Favorite hobbies to play with my little brother. And her career plans is to become a police officer. Congratulations, Victoria.
One more.
Congratulations, Victoria.
So tonight I have the special honor to announce that we have two siblings receiving Student of the Month from Lafayette School. First sibling is Stevenson in Mrs. Velasquez's class. Stevenson's favorite school subject is math. His favorite hobbies is play tag with Jefferson and play Simon Says. And career plans is to be a teacher or a football player. Congratulations, Stevenson.
Thank you.
Congratulations to Jefferson Palacio Martinez. His sibling is Stevenson. Favorite school subject, Jefferson loves math. He has a strong understanding of place value, which helps him do mental math. Favorite hobbies is play soccer and Roblox. Career plans when Jefferson grows up, he wants to be a professional soccer player for Barcelona. Congratulations.
If I need to lean down, you're a little taller. What do you think? Maybe I should get down a little bit. How about that? There we go. Hey, Sean, come on. Show me the one. There you go. Hold that
Congratulations to Jefferson and Stevenson.
up. There you go, show her. Congratulations.
Next up from Spartan School, we have Miss Lewis.
Good evening. Our third grade recipient of Student of the Month is Reagan Smith. Reagan is in Miss Pellegrino's class, and she loves music and math, and she wants to be a veterinarian when she grows up. Our recipient for the fourth grade Student of the Month is Salomon Suarez Peña in Miss Diaz's class. He has one sibling, older, Daniel Suarez Peña. His favorite subjects are math and music. He likes to rollerblade and practice English, and he would also like to be a veterinarian when he grows up. Our fifth grade recipient is Carlos Ponton. He has two sisters and one brother. His favorite subject is math. He likes to play soccer, and he's on the team currently. And he wants to be a soccer player, but he's very smart and has a backup plan of being a chef. Congratulations, Carlos.
Thank you. Congratulations. Nice job. Thank you. Thank you.
Our sixth grade Student of the Month is Octavio Cassis. He is in Miss Esposito and Miss Langowski's class. His favorite subject is social studies. His hobbies are playing video games, just like mine. And he wants to be an engineer when he grows up. Congratulations, Octavio.
Thank you.
Okay, next up from,
One second, I'm sorry.
Oh, you got one?
Yeah, Reagan just walked in.
awesome, Reagan.
Reagan, can you please come up to accept your award for Student of the Month?
Come on, Reagan, let's give Reagan a round of applause.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Reagan. Next up from community, middle school, Dr. Reza.
Hello, everyone. The Community Middle School is proud to recognize as Student of the Month, Damaris Jara. Damaris was nominated by her social studies teacher, Mr. Heiser. Damaris has two siblings, Willie and Isaac, and favorite subjects are science and social studies, of course, with Mr. Heiser. Favorite hobbies is doing her own makeup, and career plans is to be a zoologist and photography. Congratulations, Damaris. The Community Middle School is also proud to recognize Ernestina Reyes Cruz. Ernestina was also nominated by her social studies teacher, Mr. Binder. Ernestina's favorite subjects are language arts, and hobbies backgrounds, discovering new music. Ernestina plays the flute and enjoys reading a good book. Career plans are in the medical field as either a doctor or a nurse. Congratulations, Ernestina.
Next up, our high school, Mr. Smith.
All right. Good evening, everyone. All right, so the Crusader Citizen of the Month Award is a recognition of students demonstrating positive Crusader citizenship traits such as responsibility, respect, kindness, integrity, cooperation, tolerance, and perseverance. Our first recipient, Cheryl Castellan. All right. Cheryl has 4 siblings, Irvin, Brandon, Carlos, and Solano. Her favorite subjects are English and science interactions. Her favorite hobbies are watching Netflix, especially criminal justice documentaries. I do as well, right there with you. And her career plans are get into college for criminal justice. And ultimately her goal is to become a police officer. So congratulations. I know Aileen is not present today, but our next recipient is Aileen Valverde. Has 2 siblings, Monica and Jeff Alvarado. Her favorite subject is biology. Her favorite hobbies are playing softball and reading, and her career plans are to be either a nurse or a teacher. All right, our next recipient is your friend and mine, Mr. Anthony Chavez. Anthony has 1 sibling, Christopher Chavez. His favorite subject is modern world history. Just a note, he was inducted into our inaugural Rho Kappa Social Studies Honor Society. Modern world history is his favorite subject. Favorite hobbies are writing, reading, and walking. His career plans are to attend Raritan Valley Community College after high school, and then plans to transfer to a 4-year college or university. So.
Here, and then we're there. Here first. Yeah. Oh.
Okay, one more.
One more.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
All right, and lastly, our final recipient is Elijah Stackhouse. Elijah has 4 siblings, 2 twin sisters, an older sister, and a little brother. His favorite subject is physical education. He enjoys playing video games and helping the people around him. His career plans are going to a trade school to become a carpenter.
Okay, at this time, we'd like all parents and students to come up on stage so we can take a group shot with our board members.
All parents, everybody. Come on up.
Let's go right in front. We can just push the table, we get it back a little bit, slide right through.
Why are you doing this?
Ross, you're gonna have to put them in good order.
Okay, folks, everybody come on in together here. Gather up, get close. Get to know your neighbors. This is a community building exercise. Come on in. Bring it up.
Tell us
Bring it up, keep moving.
how tight we have to get. We need to make 2 rows. You let me know.
Shuffle, we're gonna need another row.
I don't know. You tell us. You're.
Yeah, keep
you wanna
moving.
keep going?
Yeah, keep shuffling, keep shuffling.
Okay.
We'll use no table. There we go. Thank you, sir.
I don't know how far. I'm like out of the picture now.
Here we go, Mr. Stackhouse, come on over.
I'll be wherever.
Yeah, go over this side, 'cause you're nice and tall. There we go, all right. Everybody come on up, you come up, move over. Each other.
Put the big camera in.
No, I think we're close. I think we're good. I'm gonna get this back in there. Here we go, everybody. 1, 2, 3, pizza.
Tacos.
And salad. Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations. No more folks. Sorry. Right there. Don't move. Is it there? Got it. Thank you, folks, everybody.
Put the flag in the back.
Okay, everybody, congratulations once again. We're gonna have a 3-minute recess, and if you wish to leave, we're gonna have a presentation shortly after.
Well, I'm gonna go, bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Sure.
I can actually see very well.
Yeah, I'm okay from here. Maybe not.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you for coming.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
How we will do the presentation.
I'll do it manually.
I can give you a mouse.
That's okay. I could just step over, just advance it. Okay.
Hey, Rob.
Right.
I'm gonna put that on the shirt.
It's just, I have one line, so it's just one step.
The mouse is gonna be this way. This is
I'm not used to this.
Yeah, there you go.
You guys don't mind my back?
No, no, go ahead. Use the microphone. Use the microphone.
Okay, I'm going to give the NJGPA now to the board. Please excuse my back facing this way. So the NJGPA, last year was the first year. It's the New Jersey Graduation Proficiency Assessment. Last year was a field test. This test was for high school only. What this screen basically says is that the graduation proficiency assessment last year did not count for our current seniors. So all of our seniors are weighed through the assessment requirement. They were all fine in that area. Once they get their 120 credits, they're going to be eligible for a diploma. However, our junior class, unless this year's another field test, which it doesn't appear that that's the case, our junior class will have to pass this as the first pathway towards their assessment requirement. Second bullet, the NJGPA is the first pathway towards graduation. The second pathway is the substitute competency test, which could be the SAT, the PSAT, the ACT, the ASVAB. There's a lot of different ones. And then finally, the third pathway, if the first and second pathways are lacking, is the portfolio, which we did not have to have this year. Okay, so it's a field test. It doesn't count as far as graduation goes, but it still counts for the district as far as reviewing curriculum and programming, as well as it's going to allow our administrators or supervisors to, and our teachers to identify focus areas in preparation of this upcoming spring's administration of the NJGPA to our juniors, to our class of 2024. So what is the NJGPA? What does it measure? The two sections are ELA and math. The test, the assessment sees if the students are ready for graduation. What is the ELA component aligned to? It's aligned to grade 10 standards. So their juniors, when they take it, it's based on the standards from the prior year. And the math component is aligned to Algebra 1 and geometry. Our students have many different avenues in math, but we could say that the majority of our students are past Algebra 1 and geometry by the time they're juniors. Okay. So here are the ELA scores. Sorry that it's a little small, but we wanted to get all the subgroups, all the relevant subgroups up there. So statewide, just under 61% of students across the state, current seniors, were deemed not graduation ready. Just under 40% in ELA were deemed graduation ready. Here at Bound Brook, just under 79% were deemed not graduation ready, and 21.3% were deemed graduation ready here at Bound Brook. Now, our subgroups, Bound Brook subgroups. Okay, female to male, different ethnicities. Okay, all the way down to socioeconomic conditions and then IEP status. So, what's telling to me on this slide is that the state designed the test and 60% across the state did not meet its standard that the state was looking for. They didn't say to us at the onset of the test that the test would not count. Maybe that was by design. They didn't want, they wanted our students taking it seriously. I think they wanted to see the results. So there are the results, and again, it does not count for this year. Now the other section is math. Only two sections. Statewide, students did better in math. Almost a 50-50 split statewide. In the district, almost 72% are not graduation ready. Just over 27% are, which is a little better than ELA. So math, we did a little bit better. And then again, all the subgroups. Okay, notable achievements for our high school students. We've added another dual enrollment class with Raritan Valley to complement our existing dual enrollment class in English. Like I said previously at the NJ SLA presentation, our SAT mean went up 13 points. We've also added dual enrollment options for our students in advanced placement courses in English. And then in math, we aligned our AP Stat course, so our students in those courses that are aligned with the RBCC dual enrollment courses, when they get the grade that they need in AP Stat, they get college credit for that as well. And we have a lot of students who are taking advantage of that opportunity. Okay, intervention strategies. So the first couple of slides, the state said even though the test does not count for the students, the purpose of it was for districts to identify areas where we could intervene with our students. So what are those areas? We have grade levels analyzing our Lincoln assessments to identify standards not being addressed prior to the state assessments. We have subject-specific supervisors. We have team planning 4 days a week for teachers. New this upcoming year, we will have an 8th grade placement exam in both areas, math and ELA, to get into honors. And then overall, establishment of course requirements for both college prep and honors courses in math and ELA at both community and the high school. Continuing, the ELA curriculum at the high school has been revised and aligned to these standards, the existing standards of the NJSLA and the new standards of the NJGPA. The same with math. And then our supervisors and high school administrators have established common assessments in both math and ELA aligned to the state testing. Okay, last slide of intervention strategies. The high school is piloting a program called IXL, which is a learning and assessment platform in preparation for this spring's NJSLA. Those will take place in May. Selection of new ELA grade level appropriate texts based on NJSLS recommendations, including seminal U.S. documents, timeless dramas of Shakespeare, classics of American literature, diverse high-quality contemporary works, and finally, we've added a new public speaking elective course to the high school program of studies. Any questions?
Yeah, where do you want to start? Head into the table? Yeah, you got it.
Why?
Why what?
Start down there. Or
So
what?
this is a test that doesn't count, but it might.
Well, it's going
So-
to soon.
Right, it didn't count for this year.
What test are they gonna take away to replace it? There's no-
The state has shown that they do not take away, they add. Yeah, there's a lot of testing.
So they're just gonna add another test and not take away a test.
Yeah, we're already preparing for the upcoming one in March.
Who made the subgroups for this presentation?
The state provided those numbers.
Okay.
So the state gives us a whole summary. Besides individual student reports, they give us a summary of statewide district and then subgroups.
So when I'm looking, when we're all looking at the numbers here for Bound Group, my attention goes to the ELL and IEP numbers. And I just, I've been in education almost 30 years, and you're right, the state never takes a test away. This will be another thing that it's on. So I would hope that we're looking at those two groups, in particular our ELL learners, and looking at interventions specific for them to prepare them for this. And I know that you guys have been hit with this. And it just, when I see the work, when I look, you look at charts and you see a 0, that's, I think we need to look at, as we do, and I'm not saying we don't, but we need to look at the entire spectrum of our student body, not just our A's and B's. We need to look at our students that have, learning difficulties, language difficulties. I just don't want them, not that they will, but I just want them also, I want an equitable playing field for our interventions. That's just a suggestion I would make.
Yeah, definitely. I will say the sample size in those subgroups are very small.
Whether the 2 people or 200 people, it's still.
Correct.
That's all.
Right.
To your point, like you see our budget, when we go over the budget, you'll see that we're taking action in those 2 subgroups in particular.
Which makes me happy, as well as every parent who has an IEP.
Yeah, and bilingual as well. I know in the weekend reports, I've kind of articulated that, some of our struggles, even with personnel. We're moving forward, we're starting to get some personnel, we have a plan, and you'll see those interventions when we go over the budget. And I think a large part of it is that we have, like you said, we have to start putting resources into those areas, to those interventions in order to get these things going in another direction.
What do we attribute the results to? Like, are there variables that we think impacted the students? Do we feel that the results are an accurate depiction of where our students are?
I would say certainly not. I think we're going to see. I think this test it's brand new. So, to our students, it was something completely new to them. I think a more accurate depiction of them is how well they did on the SATs. A test that they're more comfortable with.
So are the students at the high school level doing assessments on Lincoln as well?
They are, yes.
So do the Lincoln assessments show that they are prepared to score proficient on state exams?
The Lincoln? Yeah.
I mean, the data varies because what you have is some students take it seriously and they do well and look at individual growth, both on all the assessments, and it's impressive. However, you do have students that are not taking a college path that check out and just they'll finish Lincoln in 10 seconds, and then that brings the overall average down. But if you have 3 Lincoln tests, you have NJSLA, you have NJGPA, you have the AP tests. I mean, there's so many tests, and all the tests are important, but the kids, they don't value the test. I need to be honest with you. And as much, we spoke about this at our staff meeting the other day about, basically being cheerleaders for these assessments. But, look at the colleges that our kids are going to. We just had a young lady get accepted to LSU, Alabama. We sent a kid to Harvard last year. So our kids are going to great schools. So what you're seeing up here is 100% not indicative of where our kids are in terms of their levels. And it's to sit here and to watch the presentation, it's like, it seems disheartening because I take this personally. But I mean, I can say with confidence and certainty that it's not a reflection of where our students are at this point, not even remotely close.
Can I make a comment? I agree that there's a percentage of students that are highly successful coming out of Bound Brook. But I think would be interesting is to look at that percentage of success and measure that against the data that we see in these testing scores. And I think that the top 1 to 10% of our students are always going to be successful, right? They have it either in themselves or in their home life or in just the culture of where they want to be and how successful they want to be as individuals. How do we inspire the lower 90% to carry that inspiration and understand the value of getting those test scores where they may not want to go to a 4-year school, they might not want to go to a 2-year school, but there's still a value in their education and a personal goal that I feel like we're missing that somehow. And I see intervention strategies and I see things that seem to affect that upper 10%. But when I read some of these interventions, I don't read that that's intervening on the lower 90 is what I read in these slides. So I think one approach could be when we look at interventions and how we want to approach that lower 90, what do we expect out of it? Or what is our goal, right? So if we're gonna run a program or run something, what is our expectation coming out of that? Not necessarily, well, we're gonna run it and it'll be successful because we know the top 10% is gonna pick it up and run with it and be really successful. But how do we measure that against the lower 90 and say, how are we gonna reach them? And what is our expectation? Do we intervention program, we can get a 2% result? Can we get a 5% result? And start with low numbers and try to work our way up. But I think without setting the tone of how it's going to affect and the result of the actions that we're taking, I think it sounds like we're just putting stuff out there and it doesn't seem to be taking, if that makes any sense.
So, we've been working with Dr. Freeman and this master scheduling, guru, as we call him, because right now we have no intervention periods. It's, whatever the teachers do in the class, they meet the kids every other day, A day, B day, A day, B day. And there's no interventions. In the lower levels, there's academic support, ASI, and interventions, and we don't have any of that at the high school. So we're basically relying on the teachers to do the interventions. But even with IXL and some of these other programs, if the kids are not completing the program or working on the program with fidelity, then it's not going to work. So,
Right.
We can be cheerleaders and we can advocate, which we do I think till we're blue in the face. And I think it's such a great job and go so far above and beyond. Even speaking to my principal colleagues in the county,
Yeah.
like some of the things that we're doing here, they're blown away by it. But if students are not doing it with fidelity, then
Right.
we do the best that we can and we're really trying, but there needs to be some give back as well.
Absolutely. And I don't oppose I think that the staff that we have is doing an amazing job, right? I think it's a struggle with how are we going to reach these kids, right? And if you guys are trying every avenue, what else is out there? What creative thoughts can you come up with to help show kids how that success can really, really affect them later on in life when they get out of high school? And I guess my other question is, if they don't meet these standards, what does the state of New Jersey do with students that don't meet standards and can't graduate on time?
So first I'll say what Ed said about the scheduling committee. The emphasis, the focus with the scheduling committee is how we're going to reach what we call our lower tier students. Where you say, the other 90%. So that's the big focus of the new schedule that's upcoming. So when the students are freshmen, they take the NJSLA, ELA. That's their first pathway, first opportunity to get a passing score. NJGPA is another first pathway. Then the second pathways are the alternate assessments, SAT, PSAT. The third pathway is a portfolio. So those are set assignments given by the state, set prompts that our students have to answer, work with our teachers and answer. Then we submit them to the state, and the state signs off on them.
Okay.
Just real quick, so they take this as a junior, it's one and done, like if they're not graduation ready, they get another shot, or they have to go right to the second pathway?
Yeah, this is it. That's their only time.
Okay.
So the only thing that I would add for the members of the board is as we're having these kinds of conversations, I think it's important to reflect on what we could be doing to improve here as well. And so as we continue to reflect on what the budget is going to look like for next year, what resources look like, and when the action plans do come forward from administration, continuing to work with them to refine them and make sure that they really have the resources that they need to go ahead and execute. And whether that's scheduling, whether it goes back to negotiations with the union, whether it goes to setting our budget for next year, that's where we really need to take a step back and say, are we doing everything that we can to empower the people in the audience right now and make them successful? So I just want to make sure that we, as board members, take that away.
Agreed, but when you see numbers in any presentation, and to Ms. Casino's point, success, what does success mean? You know, is success looking at we have to look at equitable success. And I think that it's a situation, and to your credit, Mr. Januzzi, that we want to give the administration every single thing in our arsenal for their arsenal that they can do. I agree with you. But it does, and I'm sure if people look in the audience or at home, when you see these numbers, it takes us aback. But to Mr. Smith's credit, I know that this is not reflective of our student base, because our student base, what I see with my son in high school, and what I see what the teachers doing, and the administration and the staff doing, it's night and day. So, but it's a little bit of a shock. It is a little bit of a shock. So, giving us the ability to empower the administration even more, absolutely. But, I think we need to take a step back from what you're saying, but also taking what Ms. Januzzi is saying and taking that into consideration when it comes to the overall interventions.
Agreed, and that's where I tie them all up and say, if in the past we've made choices from a fiscal perspective to save for investing in facilities.
Correct.
And we want to redirect some of that money back into the classroom through the next budget process. That's where we would look to have some action plans from the administration, how they're going to leverage those resources. And then we also.
Correct.
And I think, there's no doubt that there's a massive amount of hard work being done in the district. The question is, are we working really hard at some things, or could we work smarter at some things? Because, that's, I think, worth doing a little self-evaluation. To Rich's point, as a board, to self-evaluate ourselves. Are we working in the smartest way to facilitate what the district needs? And do we have the right programs in place that are the smartest? So it's definitely worth looking at.
Any other comments or questions for Dr. Mormel on this topic?
Are there any specific things that come to mind aside from the scheduling work that's going on that would immediately help the problem or immediately provide assistance to the staff, to the administration?
Well, I mean, it's funny, we've formed a committee with Dr. Freeman. We just met today again at district leadership committee meeting, district leadership team. And, it's the middle school and the high school, and it's like horizontal, vertical alignment. And we're trying to figure out best ways to identify, whether it's gaps in instruction or gaps in planning. This way we're all on the same page, so we have some sort of like inter-rater reliability. I mean, I know we have training that we go through, like a refresher training in the summer, but to actually sit down with members of both the high school and the middle school administrative team, so we can identify different, trends or different issues that we're looking at while observing and evaluating teachers. So, I mean, we are doing really good work, but it's a process, and I hate to use or to make any excuses, but you have to take into consideration there was a year and a half where kids were sitting home on cell phones, really not learning too much during COVID. So I'm not making excuses, but I mean it is a harsh reality. Even last year, and I'm very upfront with it. It was my most difficult year in education, coming back to school. The academics, like behavioral, social, emotional learning, mental health. This year, to me, it's a different ballgame. It's a completely different building than it was last year. So, I think we had the team and we have the capacity to do it. And I think you're going to see improvements with, Dr. Freeman at the helm.
Awesome.
You touched upon something that was in my head. Does this coincide at all with 2020 and the timing of it graduating?
Well, I think that's in part why the state is not really reflecting this as the first year where the schools actually count and are being counted. But I do want to caution and say that COVID is not a Bound Brook related issue. And while different communities could have been impacted more than others, I think when we're comparing ourselves to state averages, it kind of takes that contemporaneous issue a little bit further off the table. I'm not saying it's not affecting us again more than other communities, but everybody had to deal with COVID. And so lagging those averages really is an indicator that we're not probably where we want to be.
As a parent, I was on the board when COVID hit. As a parent, I think that this was really hard for you guys, but it was almost seamless. So kudos on us for that when, paper packets were being distributed to other districts around us, we split seamlessly. I'm really annoyed. I'm just.
You're still stuck on extra testing.
Yeah, because
Welcome
this
to my
is,
life.
this is not reflect.
This is our life in
This
education.
does not reflect who we are. This is a cookie cutter. Whatever.
It's okay. And my only response, not just
For
to
the record.
Dr. Freeman, but I think part of the strategy is really to reevaluate what we're assessing, how we're assessing it, whether or not we need to supplement what the state is doing with our own kind of assessments. So, I think that's a fair point, and it's part of the plan to address any shortcomings that we may have in terms of assessing our students.
Well, I'll say this, I'm listening to everybody speak. One thing I'm happy about is that the board is questioning why the scores are the way that they are, because that should be a question. The second thing, to hear the administration speak about the changes that are being made. I promise you that it's going to take a little time, but we're in the process. All these things you read about in the weekend report, these scheduling meetings, the intervention, the consultants coming in to help us evaluate our work. I think a lot of what it boils down to is aligning our work with student needs, which is something that we're finding we need to do a better job of. That's the meeting that Mr. Smith spoke of, and it's going to be a year-long process. It will take some time, but I can tell you that we will begin to see the results next year incrementally, but you will see results. It's not that teachers aren't working hard and administrators aren't, because they are. They're working very hard. However, working hard and having proper alignment and proper resources, that's what's really going to make the difference. And we're in the process of doing that, not only with budget, but also with our practices. We've met as an administrative team, and we've changed our focus from simply building management and operation to a focus on instruction. Our instructional leaders, from working with the last few months, I've learned that they have it. They understand instruction and what needs to be done. It's just a matter of giving them the opportunity to have that focus. One of the things they said to me as we're going through our learning today was, you know what, we never really had time to do that. That was never asked of us. So we're changing that focus, and with that alone, and aligning things that are going on in the classroom and giving teachers resources and professional development that they need, we're going to make that alignment, and we're going to end up making, making great gains. But for the time being, it's going to be incrementally. We're going to get momentum, and then over the next 2 years, you'll see slow increase, and they'll start to pick up in year 3 and 4. We're going to see significant gains, and we'll get to where we need to be. I can promise you that.
Mr. Smith, I think this question is probably for you. I noticed that it says in math, I think it said that it focuses, or we seem to think it's going to focus on Algebra 1 geometry. Since they take, do we have a substantial number of students who haven't reached those classes by the time they finish sophomore year? So they're taking this test without even seeing some of those topics? Is that a substantial enough number to say that impacts these scores?
Yeah, it's funny you ask because Ms. Paluski, she's the math supervisor. So, she kind of did an overall assessment on our students' scores. And what she determined is that when the students were taking these assessments, they weren't even presented with the material at that point.
Right,
Okay.
that was
so
my question.
What she did, she spent a lot of time resequencing and refocusing, the different concepts in algebra. So instead of, just going chapter by chapter through the book, maybe taking a look at concepts towards the end of the book and, integrating them at the beginning of the book. We tried, the issue we were having was, say, Algebra 2. So our sequence was Algebra 1, Geometry, Algebra 2. So we thought that changing the sequence to Algebra 1, Algebra 2, then Geometry junior year would be more helpful because it would close the gap with algebra. But that wasn't the case because a lot of these standardized assessments are, they're geometry heavy now. So we switched it back and now we're back on our normal sequence. But you're going to see improvements in linking. You're going to see improvements in some of these other areas. But when kids don't value the test, it doesn't matter if you can provide them with ice cream socials or whatever the case may be. Some kids just check out and they go through and they're done these assessments in 20 minutes, 10 minutes. And then other kids really try hard, but it's unfortunate that the overall average or the mean score is, diminished as a result. It's frustrating.
Yeah,
I can imagine, yeah.
sure is.
All right, so again, just thank you to Dr. Wormile and Mr. Smith again. I think it was a great conversation. I think it gives us a lot to both and some things that we want to continue to be attentive to. So it was really time well spent. I want to thank you guys again for coming here and having that discussion with us. All right, at this point, we're going to move on to the committee meetings. So Edith is not with us this evening, but thankfully one of her committee members, Sid, is going to deliver the report on her behalf. So Sid, to you.
Sure, thank you, Mr. President. The Education Committee met last week. Some of the items we talked about were identifying and recruiting ESL and bilingual staff members. The district has surveyed staff members and identified 27 certified Spanish-speaking staff members, 14 Spanish-speaking non-certified staff members, about 10 who have an ESL certificate, and 3 who have a bilingual bicultural certificate. We're exploring ways to attract and recruit and perhaps grow our own teachers in that category. There's a literacy project underway at the elementary level focused on improving family literacy in families that is underway. There are consultant works who are working with our school leadership teams and our school data teams on comparing Lincoln results to reading assessment results, literacy initiatives, ELA and math work in 7 through 12, and school-wide data teams to try to make sense of some of the data that is coming in and how to move forward with that in the classroom. Mrs. Fisher provided updates on professional learning. Most of our staff members have completed the banked 10-hour option that is new this year. Those who haven't will be doing work in January to complete their remaining professional learning requirements. And the scheduling committee work is underway at the high school and middle school, and all indications indicate that those conversations have been fruitful and productive, and people kind of open to exploring new ideas. So Dr. Freeman and Mrs. Fisher really celebrated the work of the staff members on those committees and kind of looking at all options, trying to meet the needs of our students. So we had a very good meeting, productive meeting, trying to figure out how we as a board can support our staff and our administrators in trying to provide the best programming for our kids.
That's great, and I just want to highlight the note that you made about the teachers taking advantage of banking continuing education. I think that's something, one of the first things that Dr. Freeman relaxed when he came back in the beginning of the year, and it's outstanding to see that the community has really taken that opportunity and leveraged. So clearly it was a good decision. Yeah, nice job. Questions for Sydney on education? right, hearing none, Mr. Bell for governance.
Okay, I apologize in advance, this is gonna be a little bit lengthy. There are quite a few items that we covered in governance. The first one, as you may have noticed in tonight's agenda, we talked briefly, I think last meeting, about lessening the number of roll call votes per meeting. So you'll see, I think it's items 6 and 7 are no longer elementary and then high school. We've combined them. It is gonna be a bit of a task for Edith to take note, but that's what, if you notice the asterisks, tough word today, asterisks, those are really just for Edith to know what she should be voting and what she should be abstaining on. You'll also notice the next item, I believe it's the next one, I think it's 8. We combined what used to be 3 things into something now called board action resolutions. I know that there was finance in there, I forget what the, special services, and I believe there was one more, I forget that was put in there, but anyway, we accomplished at least somewhat our goal of making, having us say yes a few less times per meeting. Oh, I have it here, it's like policies, special services, and finance, those were the 3. The next item, we, as a committee, talked about and are hopeful that you guys will agree with us that we would like to go out and try to become a certified board. What this means is that we need to get 16 credits of training as a board in the next, we would like to achieve it anyway in the next 2 years. Gwen can come in and do quite a few of these, but it would basically demonstrate, to our community here in the schools, the staff and the students as well, that we are committed to continuing our education just as we expect the same, of our staff. So we would have a plaque and we would be recognized by the state as a certified board who's done the work to stay up to date on latest and best practices. So that's something that we are definitely interested in. Like I said, Gwen can do a lot of them. I think things like the ethics training that we do count. So, we've done some of them in the past, but we can call on her to do some of the things that we have talked about as a board anyway, getting better at. So we can get hours for all of those. So as you can, I think you can all do the math, that's 8 hours per year. So it's not quite one a month, depending on how long each training is. I assume they're probably about an hour each, but maybe there are some that are longer. So we would have to probably do them at least every other month or so to keep up with that, maybe even a bit more frequently. But that's something that as a committee, we felt we really wanted to put out to you guys and hope that you would be with us on that goal. We talked about the HR committee, which did come up at our retreat at the end of, I guess that was last school year. Was it all? Okay, and it was August in the summer. Okay. Whether or not we're going to keep it. Right now, we're recommending that we do keep it at least for one more year, because we do have a need for a smaller group of people to talk about executive items that are executive in nature. They can always bring them back to us in executive session if they need to. But at least for a year, we're going to hold on to that. In addition to that, or at least we're recommending to do so. In addition to that, we also, and this was on Dr. Freeman's recommendation, we also discussed creating another committee, which would be ad hoc for now, which would be an athletics. We first started talking about an athletics committee and then thought it might be best to expand that to athletics/extracurricular. Because really, honestly, athletics have not been discussed in operations for quite some time. So they are a valuable part of our community, our district, and they have a rightful place and should be discussed and kept up to date. So we are hoping that we can form an ad hoc committee for the time being, and we'll see if it's something that we need to continue and make a standing committee, but at least for the time being, ad hoc. Okay. There's still more. We very briefly discussed an update on how we're doing with our board goals. Our board goals, if you don't remember, focus this year pretty clearly on being a more efficient board in both our meetings here and our committees, with a kind of an overarching goal there of creating more public interest and engagement. That was our goal. We have tried to adjust our meetings. You've seen the changes we made there. We're adjusting our committee structure. So we are definitely moving towards those goals. And again, the interest we have in getting certified would also help with that. We could also get a training on self-evaluation, which would help further those goals as well. So we are moving, we feel anyway that we're moving in the right direction toward goals. Next, we are another recommendation for the board. So maybe we should take questions as we go. There's so many things. We are recommending at this time, starting in January, that we move to 1 board meeting per month from 2. Dr. Freeman is very much in favor of this because it would help him immensely with his scheduling and his time management. He spends a lot of time, he and his staff spend a lot of time preparing for these meetings that could be freed up to either be in buildings or work on other tasks. It would be very much like tonight, though. They would be a little bit longer, to be transparent about that, of course. But we would only be here once a month. We could still accomplish all the same things, and it would, kind of take some things off of Dr. Freeman's plate. We have not picked formally a day, like we would probably say on Wednesdays, but we don't know which Wednesday of the month it would be. And we actually asked Dr. Freeman and Mr. Gorski to, look at their schedule, see how they want to align things to the committees, which we would probably keep the first Monday, and see how they want that lined up with those Wednesdays. Looks like you have something.
The only observation that I would make is one of the early updates here was we're looking to become a certified board, and that's going to take roughly 8 hours of your time over the course of the next 2 years. 16 over the course of the next 2 years. There's an opportunity for us to consolidate our board meetings to 1 a month, and that could have the effect of freeing up that time. So it could be no incremental change to the amount of volunteer time we need to make, but give us an opportunity to both get through all of the board business as well as get through all of our training. So the 2 of those things could be symbiotic if we structure it that way.
Okay, one last thing that we discussed in the last minute or 2 of our meeting was, again, ways that we can find new board members to fill our current open position. I guess technically it's not open until January because that's when our new calendar year, our new board year starts. We discussed a few things. One thing that we've discussed quite a bit is looking at those people who received write-in votes, seeing if they, if they submitted their own name as a write-in vote, they may have interest in reaching out to them and seeing if they want to come and put their name forth once the time comes in January. We also talked about possibly a community phone blast, just when we send things out saying, and by the way, more formally than that, by the way, we have an opening on the board and we'd love to see you on it. Another thing, and this goes to Ms. Gazzino, reaching out to those community, organizations that you are now much more in contact with, and just, not putting it on them, but asking them, hey, we have a need. Do you know of anyone, or is there anyone who's in your organization who's interested in this kind of work? I mean, I'm not saying we want to steal the president of some organization, but what I am saying is that if they have a member who has a desire to be more involved in the schools, that might be a great place to look as well. So that was everything we covered. Again, I apologize. I couldn't be more brief. Any questions?
Clearly, we packed a lot into that half an hour.
Yes.
Questions for Mike?
Just a couple.
It is too much. It is too much.
Couple
Yes.
follow-ups. I'm not saying we need to answer this question now, but maybe at an upcoming meeting, should we explore the idea as a board of a student services committee that could examine perhaps the services that we're providing, the experiences for students who may have learning disabilities, what that programming looks like in district, out of district? Is that something that we as a board should be considering doing? And we might want to think about the current committee meeting structure. Does it afford us enough time to really dive into the work and do it justice?
Yeah, that is definitely something we've talked about with Dr. Freeman, how we want to do that. And I think we've, at this time, said, I hate to, kind of make light of it. Let's see how it goes for a while. And we have kind of staggered some things and tried to change it. But I agree, it does feel like some of our committees still, we have a half hour allotted, and that's just not enough time for some of them. So I agree that it's something that we should continue to look at and think about for sure.
I know we're trying, there's a renaissance with all of this. And I know we're trying to streamline and we're trying to make sure that we have a different approach. I would just offer that, because going on, Sid, what you were saying, I feel like there's a lot that's being crammed in, especially with the committees in a short amount of time. And I know that, operations, this last one, we were good, but prior to that, we might have gone over. And when-
Not to correct you, but operations went just about double the time. We finished in like 55 minutes instead of 60,
it
but we're
seems
really
so much
proficient
shorter
there.
with the sandwich. But my point is that I'm excited that we're doing this, but I just want to caution us to say, like when we're doing one meeting, then we have other board members coming in, it's like, all right, now we're gonna do it. I just, maybe we need to take a step back from we're doing phenomenal. Administration doing phenomenal. All the cylinders are on, right?
Yeah.
But I think we need to take a step back with time management for us.
Yeah.
Because I'm feeling rushed.
Okay.
And
Agreed.
I just want to put
Agreed.
that out there, that's all.
Maybe again, giving up that extra board meeting affords us another night to break up our committees. I don't know, just something I'm throwing out there. Again, and this is also gonna depend on the administration and how they feel about all these things. So there's a lot of people that have to be consulted in all of this, and I think we all agree that right now, we don't have enough time. I think it might even be temporary because like you said, we are working on so many things. The way I feel anyway is we're at the beginning of something. Like we're starting all the way over and it's so much. And I hope that will lessen as time goes, but I think you might be right for now. Right, something we definitely have to discuss.
Or maybe that's something that we can try and attend to between meetings, so before we get to the January committee meetings, we don't walk away with that feeling. Because while, we haven't gone through a full year of these cycles, we've gone through at least 3 rounds of committee meetings. And I don't think that the feedback has been unequivocally that in any given meeting, we've had exactly the right amount of time. So it's that tuning, but let's try and see what we can do between meetings so that we don't have that same experience in January.
And maybe even committee chairs reach out to their liaisons and say, is there another time that we can kind of fit more time for our committee in there?
Yeah.
Maybe we have to move one, even if we probably moved 1 or 2 committees to another night, we could have that much more time.
Yeah. All right, other questions for Mr. Bell? All right.
Oh, are we good, by the way, since we recommended, is there any, Mr. Gorski, is there any formal vote needed to change our meeting to 1 a month? Does anything have to happen?
Yes, I sent Mr. Januzzi a draft of the new meeting schedule.
Yeah,
It will have to be approved by the Board of Education at the organization meeting.
Okay.
That's to be adopted.
okay.
All right, on to human resources. Ms. Musson?
I will be brief.
Excellent.
Not much. We're continuing to monitor our hires with our spreadsheet. Something came up about advertising at the Bridgewater Mall for the district for hiring. Did you guys see that, the handout? Remember that?
I might have missed it.
No, okay. Basically like the routers in the mall, that we were hiring, it came up that, our robotics team has that space in the mall. It might be a good way to get people to apply. We've updated our employment tab on the website, for easier navigation, and partnered with our partnership with RBCC to see if any of their students would be interested in coming into our classroom to get some experience, some classroom experience, so benefit for all.
All right, any questions for Joanne? All right, moving on. Roger, you're for operations?
Okay, operations, we had a long meeting,
Apparently it was.
but I got a lot of time just went. So I know there will be questions, so Mr. Gorski, I'm putting you on notice, so there probably be kind of questions. I wanted to thank Mr. Gorski publicly because he's been phenomenal in really getting everything together and just keeping everything running smoothly for us in operations. Let me begin with our audit update. Mr. Gorski updated the committee that the annual comprehensive financial report and auditor's management report for the year ending 6/30/22 is complete. The exceptions of 75 post-employment benefits, which is yet to be released by the state, and a few other items. He also presented the committee with a draft of the C1 exhibit that indicates fund balance and auditor's management report and shows compliance and recommendations. He also indicated that excess surplus grew to approximately 1.6 million and that there were 3 audit recommendations. The administration will express some aversion to the audit recommendations so that we strive for none for next year. I just hearing some of the numbers and how our monies are stacking up, the operations committee was, I think, a little bit in shock and in a very positive way, and really thankful for the hard work that's been doing with that. Talking about money, we have a budget update that the committee was updated in relation to the 23-24 budget construction. That Dr. Freeman discussed resources will be allocated, as he had mentioned earlier, to instructional programs, and that was actually. I have to say, we had kind of a breakout discussion, and I want to thank Dr. Freeman that, you know, there's a need, and we have to look at, there's a need, fill it, right? And we're looking at our need, we're looking at not taking away 100%, but reallocating in a smart way from facilities to programming and staff and student needs. And that was something that the operations committee really took to heart. That part of our renaissance to go forward, I think needs to happen. We also have a demographic report update that the ASSA has been initially filed and is in the process of being audited. Ross, Harbor, and Associates will use the data to perform 10-year projections. And that's important because we need to know where our population is going and for future enrollments. We also have some construction updates. Mr. Gorski provided the information that there was the HVAC project was moving. Where was that at? Was that that's on Smalley School. It was turning out to go a little slower than need be, but the weather didn't cooperate. All of the rooftop curbing had been installed with rooftop units in place at Smalley. They have not started any interior work on the annex as they're waiting to make a decision regarding the removal of asbestos tiles in 10 classrooms. And there were also some weather conditions in relation to pouring concrete at Lamont. Cafeteria project, all cylinders are in and almost completed. They're scheduling to break ground in January, weather permitting. We're going to be using a contractor named Faros, and he has an excellent, is that correct, Faros?
Yes.
And he has a good track record. We're going to be using him. Finally, the field turf project, which is interesting because I know everyone's going by the field saying, well, what's going on, what's happening with it. It's slowed a little bit. Mr. Gorski, if you want to update us on that, since we had talked last week, but I know that it was cold weather, rain, equipment issues, but it's over halfway completed. And with any luck with equipment and weather, they'll be able to get back on track. Field lighting project has not started. We were waiting for permits from the borough. And there was an additional dental plan options as per the MOA. Mr. Gorski presented the committee with an additional dental plan as required by the BPA memorandum of agreement. And the committee appreciated the options, looked at the options that were there. So it's a lot, but we're going I have to say, I've been here a while, as you know, but I am very excited that we're going in a really positive forward direction. So I yield back to you, Mr. President.
Thanks, and I would just offer two additional comments. The first one being to draw everybody's attention to Roger's comments around the audit management observations, and note that those have actually been reduced from year to year. That's in part due to some of the immediate work that Nick Patel did when he came in on an interim basis, and what Dr. Freeman and Mr. Gorski have continued on. So I think generally our trajectory there is good, and we're aiming for a completely clean audit when we talk about the next fiscal year to be closed in June 2023. And then the second thing, I just want to be mindful when we talk about the budget and reprioritizing where we're allocating our funding. I think it's important to note that we collectively want to do that with an eye towards the fact that we still have needs in facilities, whether it's maintaining the ones that we do have or growing and acquiring new ones. And the question will become, how do we prioritize, and then how do we become creative about the things that we may or may not be able to self-fund. So my expectation coming through the budget process is we will take care of both the immediate operational needs as well as incorporate our long-term facilities plan into that budgeting process. So just want to make sure everybody walks away with that same understanding. Any other questions for Roger? Comments?
What was the issue with the permits from the borough?
I defer to the president.
I think it actually had to do with the need to file them and the application for them being done in a timely manner, as well as just waiting for the processing to happen, which does tend to take a bit. I'm not sure if we've gotten any updates.
Where are we at with that?
Yeah.
The auditors are gonna present at the next operations committee meeting. So the time consideration is valid. We may need a little more time. They're gonna present the audit recommendations for the year ended June 30, 2020. Many of those items have been rectified already. And Dr. Freeman and I are very adverse to audit findings. We want to impress upon the public that we are very serious about the safeguards and internal controls that are in place, and that all of the budgeted funds that the taxpayers are affording us are going to the programs that they're supposed to, and that we're in full compliance with all the regulations there. So.
Well said. The question though was about the permits for the lights on the ball field.
We'll take that answer. I think you're right. It's a little difficult to hear down here.
Yeah, the permits for the lights on the ball field.
We had notification today that the permits were ready, and they were being picked up today.
Perfect. Thank you.
Sorry about that.
Good news. Good news.
But I like the first.
Yeah. No less valid. All right. Any other questions for Roger on operations? All right, Lisa, you're up for community engagement.
Okay, so we had a great meeting last week. I'm finding that our less like bullet point agendas and more like really amazing conversations that we're having with our community leaders. Last week we had Agatha Perez, she's the leader of our PTO. We had a great time discussing her role, all the amazing work that she and PTO have done in the district. Sort of a little bit of her history and how she came to be the leader within the PTO and some of her kind of upcoming desires. I know they have a big event planned tomorrow, which is the ice skating, which sounds amazing. She is a very creative thinker, and she finds ways to source these amazing events, including this, I have to check it out. It's an iceless ice skating rink, where you can put your skates on, but there's no ice. You're basically on a smooth surface. So things like that, we want to engage with her a lot more as the district and really tap into how we can work together collaboratively. I know she normally does not run PTO events at the high school level, so we discussed that a little bit of maybe collaborating all the way up through 9 through 12. She had mentioned maybe some additional trips for our students, which is a great idea. We'll continue to work with her and talk with her about that. But really, it was more of just a discussion, getting to know her a little bit, getting to know what types of events they're doing, what kinds of thoughts she has in her head, and then continuing that collaboration. some of the things that we started on the first week when we met with the Alumni Association president, we're going to continue working and collaborating with them as well. So I kind of feel like a lot of what I'm going to bring to the board is more of just a status on where we're at. We won't be hitting targets at every meeting, but it's more of like ways that we can connect better and ways that we can reach out. I know there's some next steps on working on the trophy cases with the Alumni Association. I have an agreement to go to the January alumni meeting. I reached out to Joe. He wished everyone a happy holiday. Great guy. And he'll be ready in January. I believe it's the 9th with their upcoming alumni meeting. Plan on reaching out with Agatha more often. We'll see how we can collaborate, what she's kind of got in the pipeline for the PTO. Other things, following up on some of our initial agenda items. One was our social media outreach and how we're reaching the community. Dr. Freeman Fridays, I'm super excited. It's pretty awesome, and I believe we have one coming up this Friday. So I'm excited to see what kind of questions he gets his way. But things like that, I think, are huge steps for us to take using social media and really getting some engagement from the community. So we'll continue to follow that and add to it as we need to. Let's see, presenting district goals at board meetings. So we had a poster design. I believe Tom is working on a larger horizontal version. I believe it's 93 inches wide by 40 inches tall. So I know he has the artwork in hand on that. So I believe that he's working in the background to get that built. So that should be really impressive. And it'll present the district goals as well as the board goals on it. Some things that we're talking about, for 2023, maybe some additional social events, like social media events, using Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. Also, additional community leaders coming in and meeting with us. I sent a note out to Kate Bishop. She's our downtown Bound Brook city manager. She's very excited to come and sit with us and meet with us. So in January, we will set up for our next committee meeting to meet with her in person and kind of get a feel for some of the programs that she's running downtown and how I know we already partner with some of the businesses downtown. I know with like the window paintings and things like that, but how can we further that connection? So those are just some of the things that we have going on more for 2023. And a lot of it is just kind of making sure that we stay connected to those community leaders. And I will do the best that I can to keep the outreach up. So.
Excellent update. So I will just add 2 comments. The first one is I think you were wishful thinking that today was Thursday because the event is going to be on Friday.
Thank you.
In the high school parking lot. And then the second thing that I'll just mention in our meeting with Agatha was really the interest that she had in supporting fundraising activities for additional experiences. And I think about the conversation we had around making sure that everybody had access to the trip to Washington, D.C. for the 8th graders, and even just other experiences that could be added onto the existing extracurricular programming that we have up and down, all the way from pre-K through 12. So I think those are opportunities that, again, we would potentially. Any other comments or I should say any comments or questions from the members for Lisa? You're doing a good job. Yeah. So Sue's not here with us tonight. I do believe that there was a Somerset County meeting that happened last week. We will just have to hold our breath in anticipation of that next report. Hopefully she'll be back with us and able to deliver in January. So before we wrap up, any last comments, questions related to committees? I will make one comment then and just say how much I appreciate all the work that you guys are putting in there, particularly the committee chairs who, the performance has been night and day compared to last year. I think not only the depth of information that we're covering, but the command that each of the members has on their respective areas. So I want to just acknowledge that, make sure you all know how much I appreciate it. Well done. All right, at this point, we are open to the public for agenda items only. And it doesn't seem like there's anybody online. Any comments from the room?
No questions.
I think we're good. Okay, so on to number 5, approval of the meeting minutes. Resolved that the Bound Board of Education approve the following meetings, regular and executive session for November 30th, 2022. Can I have a motion? Thank you, Ms. Musson. A second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Bao. Any discussion? All right, can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Bell.
Yes.
Mr. Dawson.
Yes.
Ms. Casino.
Yes.
Mr. Zupko.
Abstain.
So noted. Ms. Musin.
Yes.
Mr. Minhas.
Yes.
And Mr. Januzzi.
Yes,
Motion passes.
thank you. Item 6.1. Resolve that the superintendent recommends for approval the resolutions as outlined in district personnel resolutions. There's a bunch of these. This is 6.2 through 6.24.
26.
You're gonna tell me that. 6.26. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
Thank you, Mr. Dawson. A second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Zupko. Any discussion?
I have a question regarding 6.19 for art club and course club. Since we're combining, I'm assuming this is community middle, but there's nothing in the note that mentions the school that was. Yeah, I don't think.
It's smaller.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Awesome, by the way. Yay, art.
Yay, art.
We'll have to break you up at the next meeting. Any other questions or comments in section 6? Okay, hearing none, can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Bell.
Yes.
Mr. Dawson.
Yes.
Ms. Casino.
Yes.
Mr. Zupko.
Yes.
Mr. Musin. I beg your pardon,
Joanna? Yes.
Mr. Minhas.
Yes.
And Mr. Januzzi.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. 7.1, be it resolved that the Bound Board of Education approves the resolutions as outlined in district education resolutions. This is 7.2 through 7.8. I have a motion.
Motion.
Thank you, Mr. Bowell, second.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Musson. Any discussion? I, for one, would just say that I am very ready for the start of winter sports season and cannot wait to get back in the gym and watch the kids. 7.2. All right. Hearing none, can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Bell.
Yes.
Mr. Dawson.
Yes.
Ms. Casino.
Yes.
Mr. Zupko.
Yes.
Ms. Musin.
Yes.
Mr. Minhas.
Yes.
Mr. Januzzi.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. We are up to item 8. This is our new mega section. Be it resolved that the Bound Board of Education approves the resolutions as outlined in board action resolutions. This is 8.2
14, sorry.
through 8.14. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Thank you, Mr. Bowell. Second.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Zucker. Discussion?
Well, just thank all the groups for the donations. I believe we had 2 donations this month.
We did. One at the community school and
And I
one
love
at
it.
Lafayette.
Yes. Thanks for that.
Any other questions or comments? All right. Can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Bell.
Yes.
Mr. Dawson.
Yes.
Ms. Casino.
Yes.
Yes.
Ms. Musin.
Yes.
Mr. Minhas.
Yes.
Mr. Januzzi.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Now, if that felt like less yeses, that's because we've now reached the end of the yes portion, for the most part, of the agenda. So again, I want to thank Mr. Bao for bringing back that recommendation and Mr. Gorski for carrying it through. So we are now up to new business. If anybody has anything to discuss that we haven't yet.
I have one item. In section 6, we have all these new clubs being created, which is wonderful. And I think we can all agree as a community that the more clubs, the better. I would welcome any club into Bound Brook School, into the school that I work in. I think they're wonderful for the students. The one thing that's been practiced since I've been here, and I'm sure long before that, is that the advisors need to hold the club for 3 years before they earn a stipend, I believe. And to me, as a teacher who you know, in my school has many clubs and has advised in the past, this seems like a barrier to getting more teachers to do the work, to stay after school. If you ask me, being honest, as an educator, to stay after school for 3 years without getting paid before I finally get paid, I would say I don't think that club is going to happen, honestly. If it was 1 year, maybe, but 3 years feels like so long to do all of this good work and not get paid for it. I feel like that's something that we could revisit. I know other districts don't have a policy like this. I know why it was put in place. Initially, at least I've heard from people why it was put in place, but it seems like a long time.
We can revisit it. Yeah, definitely revisit it.
Because again, I would just like to see as many clubs as possible. Get the kids after school. Going back to our previous discussion about COVID, kids, missed out on a lot of socialization, being together with each other. So the more we can do, the better.
And at the end of the day, if the desire of, previous administration, previous board was to prevent low volume or spurious clubs from being created, but having to pay a teacher basically the same amount, whether we have 15 kids in the classroom or 2, then maybe we can come up with some other guidelines that actually accomplish the same thing without asking for people to donate their time. Any thoughts or comments on either Mr. Bell's suggestion or anything else to be discussed in new business?
Just one small item. I attended a meeting of the advisory board for the rugby. I just wanted to note, we had several staff members from the district attend. So the advisory board is a group of educators and people in the community who basically offer feedback to the Rutgers program on how they're doing in preparing student interns for education. And these are folks who are volunteering their time to cultivate a relationship with Rutgers, which I think is a great thing for the district. And I just want to let those staff members know we appreciate it.
It's a great observation. We absolutely do. Thanks. Any other comments? Questions? All right, then I believe we are now open to the public for discussion. Anything online? All right. Don't grab the microphone all at once. We are now moving to item number 12, which is a move to go into executive session. I believe we are going to do that under items. It's 1 and 3. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Thanks, Mr. Bowell. A second? Second. Thank you, Mr. Zupko. All in favor? Aye. We are currently adjourned to executive. Thank you.